I've ridden a lot of big, fast, technologically advanced motorcycles with all the horsepower, torque, and high tech you can imagine. And I have to say that it's hard not to get jaded by all of that Moto goodness. The dollar to horsepower ratio of motorcycles is off the charts, as supercar level performance is available to us at relatively affordable prices. But all of this performance, nice as it is, can still leave you wanting something more and not being sure what that something is, until you get on a MiniMoto and realize that it's the giggle factor. Sub 200cc bikes, while often overlooked by long-time motorcyclists, have a charm beyond their adorable looks, fuel efficiency, and ease of use. They can be ridiculously fun to ride under certain conditions, and recently I had a chance to jump aboard a whole bunch of them as I attended the launch of the new to the US and Canada Honda Navi. In addition to the new Navi, Honda also brought a bunch of other MiniMotos and scooters for purposes of comparison and gave us free rein in the afternoon to try them out. Now, the best way to compare bikes is to ride them back to back. That way they're all fresh in your mind, and that's exactly what I was able to do. I'm not going to go into every detail of the specs here. I'm more interested in how the bikes ride, how much they cost, and what they will do for you, and what kind of rider will enjoy which bike. So whether you're a MiniMoto aficionado or merely MiniMoto curious, sit back and enjoy the video. And if you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons to help the channel. So before you go pointing it out, no, the Trail 125 is not among the bikes I tried out. You have a better chance of finding Jimmy Hoffa than finding a new Trail 125 in the United States right now. There was a Super Cub available which is similar in many ways, but is higher geared and lacks the off-road ability of the Trail, so some of the Trail's traits definitely transfer to the Super Cub. Also missing was the Ruckus, which is in many ways similar to the Metropolitan but has more off-road prowess and a crazy customization scene. Finally, the ADV150 was also not among the bikes. Again, off-road bikes have all sold out on pre-order these days. But the Navi, Grom, Monkey, Super Cub, Metropolitan, and PCX were there and ready to ride. And I'll try to give you an idea of how the Trail, ADV, and Ruckus fit into the mix. And for my Canadian viewers, only the Grom, Monkey, Navi, and Ruckus are available in Canada. So no discussion of the MiniMoto phenomenon would be complete without looking at the sales-leading Honda Grom, the little hooligan, the sport bike, the stunt bike, quite frankly the standard of the segment. Honda sells more Groms than any other motorcycle, by a lot, and when you take off on one through city traffic you can see why. Despite having less than 10 horsepower, this bike is a hoot to ride. It's the sportiest, the best handling, and feels the most like a typical motorcycle of all the MiniMotos. So the Grom ain't no 1000cc sport bike, but can be ridden all out with a smile on your face without the pucker factor of the big bikes. Last year the Grom got a revamp with a 5th gear and the same dash as several of the bigger Hondas, including the CRF 300L Rally that Brooke rides, so we're pretty familiar with this layout. The fuel gauge and gear indicator are nice touches on a bike this inexpensive. The motor is an air-cooled, fuel-injected single, the new transmission is slick and well spaced out, and the stock exhaust sounds pretty good. Oh, and it has passenger pegs and can carry 2. Barely. This is not a highway bike, as stock ones will top out in the 55 mph or 90 km/h neighborhood, but it gets up to speed pretty quickly. Handling is telepathic with those little wheels and the 227-pound wet weight, making this machine incredibly nimble. But the most attractive thing about the Grom is the lifestyle aspect of it. People customize and mod these to the hilt and then stunt them, take them racing, touring, have group rides and rallies, and generally just participate in all kinds of shenanigans on them. You name the motorcycling activity, I'm sure someone has tried it on a Grom. Much like a Harley or a Goldwing, when you buy a Grom you are joining a club of folks who are passionate about their machines. Of all these MiniMotos, the Grom is the enthusiast's choice. With a clutch, shifter, and brakes that are not linked, it feels most like a motorcycle. Oh, and that small 6-liter fuel tank will get you 300 kilometers down the road. And it's reasonably priced at $3,400 US or $3,900 Canadian, with ABS versions costing a bit more. I wouldn't buy the ABS one though, as you can't do slide action on them.
Back her in.
And speaking of slide action, you can also do this on a Monkey, as long as it's a 2021 or earlier non-ABS model. The new 2022 model comes with ABS only, so no backing her in. In addition, the new Monkey shares the Grom's updated engine and 5-speed transmission, but in a much more retro package. It weighs 231 pounds, which also puts it very close to the Grom. The Monkey does a good job of reminding us that Honda has a long history of building these bikes. It is the most stylish and cute MiniMoto, but you pay a premium for the cuteness as it costs $4,200 US and $5,300 Canadian. But both of those include ABS. So, is the Monkey just a retro Grom? Well, although like the Grom, this year's Monkey has gone to a 5-speed gearbox for the first time, there are some differences. First, the Monkey does have a bit more off-road ability. Not much more, but a bit. Don't however buy this bike thinking it's a dual sport. For not much more money, you can buy an actual dual sport like Yamaha's TW200 or XT250 or Kawasaki's KLX230. And all of those spank this Monkey on and off-road. On the road, the Monkey is close to the Grom in performance but feels just a half step behind in acceleration and handling. The Grom's monoshock, lower bars, and more sporty riding position probably contribute to its better riding dynamics. The Monkey's Mini Ape handlebar is a bit high and crowds taller riders, but will also make this bike easier to wheelie and act a fool on. The Monkey's seat is extremely comfy and sits 30.5 inches off the ground, accessible to most. Everything is LED and the instruments are stylish, though not as comprehensive or visible as the Grom's. What the Monkey gives you is style. If you buy this bike, prepare to be stopped and asked about it everywhere you go. It's cool looking and, like the Grom, gets your foot in the door of the MiniMoto Club. And the 5.6 liter tank gets you almost as far as the Grom. It is pricier than the other bikes in this comparison, but generally speaking, the cool retro versions of motorcycles are more expensive than the plain Jane regular bikes. And speaking of cool and retro, next we have the best-selling motorcycle of all time. The Super Cub was, of course, the subject of one of the greatest ad campaigns ever.
You meet the nicest people on a Honda. World's biggest seller.
First thing you notice here is the look. It is gorgeous. Hondas generally display top-notch build quality, with the bikes being very well put together. All the tolerances tight, the looks premium, and in this case, also cool. So cool in fact that you can barely tell the difference between an old one and a new one. So in this crowd, the Super Cub is the MiniMoto that feels most like a full-size motorcycle. The seat height is a bit taller at 30.7 inches, the weight is a bit more at 240 pounds, the wheels are larger, the handling is a bit slower, the seating position is quite upright, and the legroom is very generous. The Cub is sort of a mix of motorcycle and scooter. The engine is the same as the Grom and Monkeys, but the gearbox is a strange 4-speed semi-auto jobby with a heel-toe shifter. Accelerate, roll off the throttle, and bang it up a gear, no clutch necessary. The heel-toe shifter is a bit weird. Usually you see these on big baggers with floorboards, but I guess Honda figures some will commute to work on this bike and won't want to scuff up their nice work shoes when shifting up. While this setup works for the Super Cub, it is not nearly as useful on the trail because when you ride off-road you need to have the ball of your foot on the peg. This can cause your heel to accidentally shift up. Another scooter-like feature of the Super Cub is the partial step-through, which allows mounting the bike without swinging a leg over it. Of course you should ride with all your gear on always, but many people will choose to commute to work in their work clothes, and women who wear skirts to work will prefer this feature. The fact that the Super Cub only carries 4 liters of fuel hints at the fact that it is primarily a city machine, as in the city you are never too far from a gas station. The Super Cub falls between the Grom and Monkey in price, coming in at $37.50 US. It is not available in Canada. On the road, all of these bikes top out at around 55 miles per hour or 90 kilometers per hour, but the Super Cub feels the highest geared and may be a bit faster. It just seems to be the least frantic at higher speeds. However, when it comes to dynamic riding, the Cub cannot match the Grom and Monkey for their nimbleness. The Trail is in many ways similar to the Cub but is lower geared and has more off-road focused suspension. Both bikes are stylish and hard to distinguish from the originals. In my last video, link in the top corner, I reviewed the Navi in some depth, so check that out if you want more details. As far as how the Navi compares to the other MiniMotos in the Honda lineup, the thing that makes it stand out most is its price. $1,800 US, $2,300 Canadian is hard to beat. This bike combines the look and riding experience of a motorcycle with the 110cc motor and automatic transmission from the Honda Activa scooter. The bike handles well and zips around the corners, but has lower power and a seamless CVT transmission. Acceleration lags behind the 125s, but top speed isn't too far down, as the bike does manage a respectable 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers per hour. The styling is Grom-like, but where the Grom's engine sits under the tank, the Navi's rear-based engine leaves plenty of room for a large storage compartment. So this bike looks cool, handles pretty well, and is so inexpensive it is within reach of most people. It makes a great commuter and an all-around fun machine for the city, and with a tank just under 4 liters should get you about 100 miles or 160 kilometers of range. Oh, and it's carbureted and does not come with ABS, though its brakes are linked, which rules out sliding the rear wheel. The last two machines I rode are pure scooters. The first is the Metropolitan, a super cute retro scooter which is drivable without a motorcycle license because its engine is just under 50cc. As you can imagine, the power of this bike is not intimidating, and the Metropolitan has typical scooter functionality with a fair bit of trunk space under the seat. Its biggest attraction is that it does not require a license. Its biggest drawback is performance. It takes a while to get up and go, tops out at around 35 miles per hour, so faster roads are either out of the question or will get dicey as cars try to squeeze past you. Also, the seating position had me cramped. This is probably a vehicle aimed at shorter riders. Finally, the tiny wheels and short wheelbase make the steering twitchy, and the fact that there is no tank to grip with the knees and no pegs to help shift your weight to steer makes this the poorest handling bike in the comparison. The Metropolitan has an almost 5-liter fuel tank which should get you around 140 miles and will cost you $2,500 US. Personally, if I didn't have a license, I'd get the Navi for $1,800 and spend the difference on an MSF course, a motorcycle license, and some protective gear. The Navi is way more motorcycle for less money, so unless you're in love with the looks of the Metropolitan, you're almost sure to enjoy the riding dynamics of the Navi more. Speaking of riding dynamics, one scooter that has no problem in that department is the PCX. With the biggest engine and most power in this group, the 150cc PCX can hit 70 miles per hour or 114 kilometers per hour, which make it the only MiniMoto in this comparison decently suited for highway travel. It's not really meant for the highway with those small wheels, but its monstrous 12.5 horsepower propels it down the road faster than the other bikes in this comparo. The PCX exudes quality and is the opposite of retro. It is futuristic looking with sharp angles and lines, handles much better than the Metropolitan, although I still prefer motorcycles because you can grip them with your knees, and has scooter utility with a fair-sized trunk under the seat. Everything about it says confidence and utility. Like the Metropolitan, it is fully automatic, has linked brakes, and is a step-through. Riding this thing almost feels like driving an Acura. It just does everything it's supposed to and does it well. And it costs $3,800 US. Pretty good for such an all-around capable machine. As for the ADV150, expect similar performance to the PCX with a little more off-road ability and a taller seat. So to sum up, if you're a motorcycle enthusiast, get the Grom or the Monkey. The Grom's a little better on the road, while the Monkey has a bit of an edge off-road, and looks a bit cooler. The Super Cub is the sophisticated and stylish city commuter with longer legs. The Trail is the best option for the trail. The Navi is the lowest priced, reliable motorcycle on the market and perfect for beginners. The PCX is an extremely capable all-around scooter, while the Metropolitan is for folks who enjoy the retro scooter look and don't necessarily want to get a motorcycle license. Oh, and the Ruckus is another 50cc Honda scooter, which is the one you want if you want to customize your scooter to the max. Each bike here definitely has its own personality and will appeal to a different type of rider, but they all have that lightweight, simple feel that used to be the staple of motorcycling. As I said, I'm not going to get into every detail and spec of each. Those are available elsewhere on YouTube, I'm sure. But being able to jump on each one in short succession has definitely allowed me to get a good idea of how they stack up. So which one tickles your fancy? If I had to choose a MiniMoto or scooter, I'd probably choose one that was missing from this group, the Trail 125. I like going off-road, and that one is an all-around useful bike with some off-road prowess. Feel free to comment below with your choice, or an alternative to these, maybe a smaller dual sport in the same price range. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. Keep the shiny side up and ride safe.
If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.